Good afternoon. This is Eric Chappell with my Week 7 assignment for my public communications class at Grantham University. This week we are to do a demonstration speech, demonstrating something that we are familiar with, very similar to last week's informational speech, except we're actually demonstrating something we know. For my demonstration speech this week, I chose to show you how to tie some common fishing knots that everyone should know for fishing. So I'll begin. There are several knots that every angler should know how to tie in order to attach fishing hooks, lures, tackle, and or lengths of line together when fishing. In this presentation, I will demonstrate a few of these knots by using this piece of rope representing the fishing line and this anchor shackle representing the hook or lure. The first of these knots, that's probably the easiest and the most common, is called the Palomar knot. And as I said, this is probably the most popular method of attaching tackle to fishing line among both professional fishermen and sports fishermen alike. So first I will tell you how to tie it, and then I will demonstrate that to you. You start by looping the line, creating a loop, and then threading that loop through the eye of the lure or hook. And then you create a 4 to 6 inch length of double line on the other side of the loop of the hook. You tie a loose overhand knot with the double line, and then with the hook you thread the hook through the other end of that loose double knot and you pull it tight, and that'll be good to go. And I'll show you how to do that right now. Again, this is the fishing line and this is the lure. You take your fishing line and you double your line. You loop it through here like so. You create, basically it's almost a square knot essentially, like that. And here's the catch. You then you loop your lure through that loop right there, pulling it tight, giving you the Palomar knot. This is probably the most commonly used. It's probably one of the most easiest, and with very little practice, it can be done in the dark or inclement weather conditions as well. The next knot is the that I'm going to show you when I'm done untying this, is the improved clinch knot. This fishing knot is probably the strongest and most reliable choice for attaching any form of tackle to your fishing line. This knot that I'm going to show you retains over 80% of the line's tested weight. And what that means is if the fishing line is tested for 100 pounds of weight, then the knot will hold at least 80 pounds of that weight. So what I'll do is I'll explain to you how to do it, and then I will show you. You start by threading the line through the eye of the hook. You wrap it back around itself 5 to 6 times. I do 5 because I'm a little superstitious that way. You then thread what is called the tag end back through the loop that the first wrap created. Pull the knot tight and you have the improved clinch knot. And again, I will show you now using my anchor shackle and rope. This anchor shackle representing the fishing hook is pulled through like that. You then loop it back on itself. You want to wrap this around the line coming off the reel 5 times, as I said, or 6. I know guys that go as far as 10. So, and then you take the tag end, you pull it back down through here, and you pull this tight. And essentially, you now have the improved clinch knot right there. The next knot that I'm going to show you is very, very similar to the improved clinch knot, with the difference being that there's an extra loops in the step. It appears to be a lot more complicated, both on paper and in demonstration, but it's with a little bit of practice, it's very, very easy. Additionally, there's a lot of anglers that I know that say this is stronger than the improved clinch knot, and that may be, but again, there's an extra step in it, and in inclement weather or in the dark, it's a little bit more difficult to tie. So again, I'll tell you how to do it, and then I will show you. First, you thread your fishing line through the piece of tackle or hook that's being attached, pulling approximately 5 to 6 inches of the line back over itself and creating a loop large enough to wrap the tag end of your line. Again, that's the end of the line, back through the line itself. You then wrap the tag end of your line around both pieces of the fishing line 5 to 6 times and draw a tight knot. So again, I'll show you. Bring this around like this, and then here's the difference between the improved clinch knot. You flip this over like this. I'm going to draw myself a little extra line. And with the improved clinch knot, we would just start wrapping. With the uni knot, we bring it back like this, and then we create this loop right here, and that's what we're wrapping, is this loop. And I'm just going to do it 3 times, and then you pull the loop tight like that, and that's the uni knot, like that. Pretty simple. I think with these 3 knots, you can fish just about anything and set up just about any rig. There's one other knot that I can show you that allows you to set up. That's really when you're creating rigs. Rigs being different sets up different types of lures and hooks and such for fishing different species. And it's what they call the dropper loop. Again, it's a very popular fishing knot, and it's actually very, very simple. This knot's mostly used to attach additional flies if you're fly fishing, or baits or jigs to a single fishing line. The dropper loop is used in what is commonly used in what is called a trot line, and that's where there's a series of baits hanging off of one line, often used to catch catfish. And it's pretty simple. You basically take your line, you tie a square knot over the top like that, and I messed that up. I'm going to start that over. Take your line, you loop it like that, and drop it, and that is your dropper loop, allowing you to attach additional bait down and go on and attach additional bait on the other end of your line. So I hope this has been very helpful. By knowing all of these knots, you can tie many of your standard fishing rigs, which will allow you to fish almost any species, anywhere, anytime. There's a lot of other different knots out there used for very specific setups in fly fishing, which I like to fly fish. I'm very avid about fly fishing. There are some other knots that I chose not to show you today because those are very specific to that style of fishing, as well as in professional fishing, there's a bunch of other knots used that are only specific to are specific to very specific species, and not necessarily needed to go out and fish your local lakes or in the mountains. Thank you very much. Good fishing.